Today, we're going to discuss how to loop against different types of spin. First, let's look at fast, incoming balls. The principle for handling fast balls is, use their speed to create your arc. If the opponent's ball is fast, adding more power will make you lose control. So, against a fast ball, focus on creating a high, looping arc. Now for heavy backspin. Your swing path should go from behind your body, to the side of your body, and finish in front of your head. Even with my wrist cocked, by using a full, outward looping motion, I can lift even the heaviest backspin. By adding finger and wrist action, you can generate your own spin, not just return the ball. Therefore, the heavier the backspin, the more you must focus on creating an arc. You were failing to lift the backspin at first because you were pulling back and then just swinging your arm forward. Position your racket back into your side. This path naturally creates an arc, making contact as you swing forward and into your body, completing the parabola. So, rule number 1 for heavy backspin is to prioritize the arc of your swing. Second, the optimal contact point for a heavy backspin ball is at the very beginning of its descent. Third, how do I ensure I get enough brush on the ball? Against heavy spin, should your center of gravity be higher or lower? When I feed you heavy backspin, you'll find it's much easier to loop when you're squatting low versus standing up. Don't focus on the moment of impact. If your preparation is correct, a successful shot will follow naturally. Remember, the heavier the backspin, the lower your center of gravity needs to be. Fourth, when looping backspin, should we brush upwards, or forwards and upwards? The direction is forward and upward. You need to drive forward into the ball as you brush. Let's commit these 4 key elements to memory. Why did that last ball go into the net? Because your swing was purely vertical, with no forward drive. Let me analyze this. The ball came to your body, so your instinct was to just lift it. You must also drive your body forward. To summarize the 4 points, first, use an outward looping arc. Second, make contact in the early descending phase. Third, the heavier the spin, the lower your stance. A low center of gravity requires a low racket position. Fourth, brush the ball in a forward and upward direction, driving into it. The third type of ball is half spin, which is the most common type of push you'll face in serve and receive situations. With these balls, it's very difficult to judge whether they have more topspin or backspin. If you don't brush the ball, you won't be able to make the shot. However, if you brush too much or use too much power, you'll also fail. In this situation, you must apply enough brush while ensuring the ball lands on the table. Let's talk about brushing. Unless you are borrowing pace from a fast ball, your swing direction should always be forward and upward, driving into the ball. Second, how to control the trajectory. After brushing the ball, your upper arm must drive forward, not upward. Do that, and the ball will land. How do you ensure it lands? You must control the ball's trajectory by keeping your racket slightly above it on the follow-through. When do you miss the table? When your follow-through goes too high after contact. For this kind of ball, after generating enough brush, if the inside of your forearm is parallel to the table surface, the ball is likely to land. If the inside of your forearm faces the opponent, the ball will likely go long. Then, if you try to reduce power to compensate, you often decelerate too much and hit the net. With a half-spin ball, we can't be sure if it's more backspin or more topspin. So, we adapt. If it's backspin, create arc. If it's no spin, control the trajectory. This solves the problem. Therefore, you can't treat it like heavy backspin with a big upward loop. You must drive forward and then control the arc. Your follow-through angle is critical. If your arm finishes upward, the ball will go long. If you reduce power, it will hit the net. Since power is the hardest thing to control, let me show you in slow motion. See my forearm? It's parallel with the table, just at a higher elevation. So, against these mixed spin balls, I can't swing purely upward. If the ball has little spin, I can land it, but to add power, I must use my forearm to cap the trajectory. You must cover the ball's arc on the follow-through, not lift it. After your loop, your forearm should not face the opponent. The underside of your forearm should finish parallel to the table. If your forearm finishes facing the opponent, the risk of error is very high. The feeling should be, after creating enough arc at contact, you must immediately control and flatten that arc, not add to it. The only exception is if you're playing a soft, high looping shot without power. This won't be an error, just a high ball. Let's see one more. This example is very good. Her forearm is oriented towards the table, not towards her opponent. You can finish your loop very high, like Aruna and other European players, but none of them finish with their forearm facing the opponent. Their finish position is always like this. Pay close attention to your forearm orientation. The inside of your forearm should be parallel to the table. If you are looping for maximum spin, a high, upward finish is fine. The fourth type is a no-spin or float ball, where your opponent deceives you. For instance, a penholder might jab push forward. This ball is very dangerous and easy to loop off the table, because the motion looks like backspin, but the ball has very little spin. To handle this, you still need some brush, but you must use a more compact motion. Third, you must close your racket angle. Fourth, your force should be directed from back to front. With a closed racket angle and no extra wrist movement, just swing forward. If your racket face is unstable, the shot will be inconsistent. Adding power will only make it more inconsistent. Do not use your fingers or wrist. Lock them firmly. This will make your shot much more accurate, won't it? Your power will be more precise. Otherwise, too much finger movement leads to loss of control, and too little means your power isn't focused. So for no-spin balls, and even many topspin balls, I never use extra finger action. It's a combined force, and trying to add more brush will often make the ball fly off. I generally lock my wrist so it's one unit with my forearm. However, I must close my racket angle. This allows me to brush the ball thinly, which is another form of friction, just not a heavy spin-generating one. Compared to actively creating spin against a heavy backspin ball, the finger action here should be completely different. You must lock your wrist, especially for those softer, half-high balls. Do not let it wobble. Keep it absolutely firm. I'll show you a slow one. You can see my wrist doesn't move at all. It's unified with the forearm. In this state, you can apply power effectively. Lock your wrist and just drive straight through the ball. Don't just assume a low ball has spin and a high ball doesn't. Let's define what a soft ball is. A half-long push is a soft ball. A slow, deep push to the baseline is also a soft ball. The key characteristic is low speed. To handle this, first, hit it on its descent. Second, once your racket passes the net, stop moving up and drive it forward horizontally. You must drive through a soft ball. Now, when should you use an outward looping swing versus a more direct one? The heavier the backspin, the more you need an outward looping swing. The main purpose of this wide arc is to create a better trajectory. For example, against a long, heavy chop, using an outward arc makes it easy. What is an outward arc? It's when you draw the racket back behind your body, swing outward, and then bring it back inward. It's like drawing a small semicircle. That's the outward arc. The more spin from your opponent, the more pronounced this arc should be. This makes it much easier to lift. So why are high balls so easy to miss? Because the outward arc creates trajectory. If you create too much arc, the ball won't drop and will fly off the table. Why do you miss when you try to smash a high ball? Because when you try to generate power, your racket face becomes unstable. That is the primary point of failure. When hitting, two joints must be stable, your shoulder and your elbow. Your elbow should always point downwards. In slow motion, stabilize the shoulder and elbow, keep the elbow pointing down, and maintain a stable racket face. With this same motion, just add speed, and it's a successful smash. That's a flat hit. Now, if you're looping a high ball, you cannot use that wide, outward arc, or it will go long. When looping a high ball, your stroke should resemble a flat hit, meaning your elbow stays pointing down. If you loop with your elbow down, you will make fewer errors. Here it is in slow motion. Loop like this, with the elbow pointing down. Do not create a wide outward arc. Just drive forward through the ball. Stop trying to create arc. You need to control it. Brush the ball, yes, but don't let your arm motion add excessive height. So when you loop it, see? For any ball inside the table, do not let your elbow fly up or lift your shoulder. Keep the elbow down and the shot becomes easy. This trajectory, this is a more compact, inward swing path. The outward arc is for heavy spin because you need to create arc. The inward arc is for when you need a shorter trajectory. It's for balls where you need to apply power and have them land quickly on the table.